On the edge of a small, quiet village by the sea lived a curious boy named Liam. Every morning, as the sun painted the sky in hues of orange and gold, Liam would run down to the shore, his feet sinking into the cool sand, eager to greet the vast, endless ocean. The sea, with its ever-changing moods, fascinated him. Sometimes it was calm and inviting, its surface shimmering like glass. Other times it roared with fierce waves, reminding everyone of its untamed power. Liam believed the sea had secrets, stories it longed to share with those who listened closely. One breezy morning, as Liam collected shells along the shore, he found a peculiar bottle wedged between rocks. Inside was an aged piece of parchment, its edges curled with time. With trembling hands, Liam opened it and read, "Follow the waves at sunset where the sky meets the sea. There you'll find the heart of the ocean's story." His heart raced with excitement. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Liam waded into the water, following the glow of the setting sun. The waves seemed to guide him, gentle yet persistent. As he swam further, the world around him transformed. The water turned warm, glowing faintly with a magical light. Suddenly, he found himself standing in a hidden underwater cove, surrounded by shimmering coral and glowing fish. At the center of the cove was a crystal pedestal holding a glowing pearl, pulsating softly like a heartbeat. A voice, deep and melodic, echoed in the water. "You have been chosen, young one. The sea's stories are vast, filled with wonder and wisdom. Guard them well and share them with those who will listen." The pearl dissolved into light, flowing into Liam's chest. In that moment, he felt the weight of the sea's history, the whispers of sailors, the songs of whales, the secrets of the deep. When Liam returned to the shore, the village seemed the same, yet he felt different. From that day forward, he became the storyteller of the sea, sharing tales of adventure, mystery, and wisdom. And every time he spoke, the ocean's waves seemed to echo his words as if to say, "Yes, this is our story too." Years passed, and Liam grew into a young man. His reputation as the storyteller of the sea spread far beyond the small village. Travelers from distant lands came to hear his tales, captivated by the vividness of his words and the way he described the ocean as though it were alive, breathing, and filled with emotions. But the gift of the sea was not without its challenges. Sometimes Liam would dream of storms so fierce that they felt real, or hear cries of creatures lost in the depths. He realized that the stories he carried were not only of beauty and wonder, but also of tragedy and loss. The sea was a place of balance, both a giver of life and a force of destruction. One fateful night, Liam was awoken by a powerful dream. In it, the ocean called to him with urgency. The waves rose higher than he had ever seen, and the sky turned an inky black. A single word echoed in his mind: help. Liam knew he couldn't ignore the call. Guided by the glow of the moon, he rushed to the shore. The sea was restless, its waves crashing violently against the rocks. Without hesitation, he stepped into the cold water. As he waded deeper, the waves parted, revealing a path illuminated by shimmering light. At the end of the path, Liam found a wounded sea creature unlike anything he had ever seen. Its body was sleek and silver, with glowing blue eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of ages. The creature, a guardian of the ocean, had been trapped by nets abandoned by careless fishermen. Liam worked tirelessly, cutting the nets with a sharp shell and freeing the creature. As it swam away, it turned back, its glowing eyes meeting Liam's. In that moment, he felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude and a promise unspoken. The sea had trusted him, and he had proven himself worthy. When he returned to the village at dawn, the ocean was calm, its surface reflecting the first light of day. From then on, Liam's connection to the sea deepened. He not only told its stories, but also became its protector, teaching others to respect and cherish the vast, mysterious world beneath the waves. And so, Liam's legacy grew, not just as the storyteller of the sea, but as its guardian, a bridge between humanity and the ocean's infinite wonders. Once upon a time, in a quaint little village nestled in the rolling hills of France, there lived a humble cheesemaker named Pierre. Pierre was known far and wide for crafting the most exquisite cheeses, from creamy camembert to sharp roquefort. But there was one cheese he kept secret, locked away in the deepest corner of his cellar, a cheese unlike any other. This special cheese was said to be magical, passed down through Pierre's family for generations. Legend had it that anyone who tasted it would experience a moment of pure happiness and see their deepest wishes come true. The cheese was made from the milk of an enchanted cow named Belle, who grazed in a hidden meadow filled with herbs that glowed under the moonlight. One day, a young traveler named Clara arrived in the village. She had heard rumors of Pierre's magical cheese and was determined to find out if the stories were true. She visited Pierre's shop and asked him about the legendary cheese. At first, Pierre denied its existence, but Clara's kind heart and earnest curiosity softened him. Pierre agreed to show her the magical cheese, but on one condition: she must use its magic only for good. Clara promised, and Pierre led her down to the dimly lit cellar. There, on a small wooden shelf, rested a wheel of golden cheese that seemed to shimmer faintly in the light. Clara took a small bite, and instantly she felt a warmth spread through her heart. Images of her happiest memories flooded her mind, and a vision appeared, her dream of opening a bakery that would bring joy to people everywhere. Filled with inspiration, Clara thanked Pierre and left the village with a renewed sense of purpose. Years later, Clara's bakery became famous, known for its unique pastries infused with the spirit of happiness. She never forgot the magical cheese or the humble cheesemaker who shared it with her. And as for Pierre, he continued to craft his cheeses, content in knowing that his family's secret had helped spread a little more joy in the world. And so the legend of the magical cheese lived on, reminding everyone that sometimes the smallest things can bring the greatest happiness. Clara never revealed the full story of the magical cheese, but she carried its spirit in her heart. She often visited Pierre to bring him her latest creations: croissants filled with creamy cheeses, tarts topped with caramelized fruit, and breads infused with herbs. Each time, Pierre would smile knowingly, tasting the joy she had baked into every bite. As Clara's bakery flourished, it became a place where villagers and travelers gathered to share stories, laughter, and dreams. People often said her pastries had a magical touch, though Clara would only wink and say, "It's all made with love." One day, a little boy named Julian wandered into Clara's bakery. He looked sad, clutching a crumpled piece of paper with a sketch of a kite. Clara knelt down and asked him what was wrong. Julian explained that his greatest wish was to fly his kite higher than the tallest trees, but he didn't know how to make it strong enough. Clara smiled and handed him a small cheese tart. "Eat this and close your eyes," she said. Julian took a bite and his face lit up as an idea struck him. He ran home and worked tirelessly, using new materials and techniques to build the perfect kite. A week later, Julian returned to the bakery, beaming with pride. He told Clara how his kite soared higher than he'd ever imagined, drawing a crowd of amazed villagers. Clara's heart swelled with happiness, knowing the magic of Pierre's cheese had worked once again, this time through her own creations. As the years passed, Clara and Pierre continued their friendship, each quietly spreading joy in their own way. Pierre's enchanted cheese remained a well-kept secret, but its essence lived on in Clara's pastries and the dreams it inspired. And so the village thrived, filled with the laughter of children, the dreams of travelers, and the simple magical joy of good food shared among friends. The tale of the magical cheese became a cherished story passed from one generation to the next, reminding everyone that kindness, creativity, and a little magic could transform the world one bite at a time. In a small town nestled between rolling hills, football wasn't just a sport, it was a way of life. Every child grew up dreaming of playing for the local team, the Hilltop Hawks, who hadn't won a championship in over 20 years. Among these dreamers was Liam, a lanky 14-year-old with an unshakable passion for football, but not much skill to match. Liam practiced every day in his backyard, setting up makeshift goals with old buckets and dodging imaginary defenders. His older brother, Ethan, had been the town's star player before leaving for university, and Liam lived in his shadow. People often said, "You'll never be as good as Ethan," but Liam didn't let the comments break him. One summer, the Hawks youth team made it to the regional finals for the first time in a decade. The whole town buzzed with excitement, and Liam was thrilled to be part of the squad, even if he spent most of his time warming the bench. The final match was against the Ridgeville Rovers, a team known for their strength and speed. The game was intense. By halftime, the score was tied 2-2. The Hawks coach paced the sideline, barking instructions and encouragement. With 10 minutes left in the match, disaster struck. The Hawks' star striker twisted his ankle. The coach glanced nervously at the bench. "Liam, you're in," he said, surprising everyone, including Liam himself. Liam's heart pounded as he stepped onto the field. The crowd roared, but the voices of doubt in his head were louder. "Stay focused," he whispered to himself. With seconds remaining, the score was still tied. A Ridgeville defender made a sloppy pass and the ball rolled toward Liam. Seizing the opportunity, he sprinted down the field. A defender closed in, but Liam performed a move he had practiced 1,000 times in his backyard. A feint to the left and a quick cut to the right. Now it was just Liam and the goalkeeper. He took a deep breath and struck the ball. Time seemed to freeze as it soared through the air and curled into the top corner of the net. The crowd erupted, the final whistle blew, and the Hawks had won 3-2. Liam's teammates lifted him onto their shoulders as the town celebrated their unlikely hero. For the first time, Liam didn't feel like he was in Ethan's shadow. That night, under the glow of the stadium lights, Liam realized something important. It wasn't about being better than someone else. It was about believing in yourself and rising to the moment when it matters most. From that day forward, Liam's golden goal became a legend in the town, inspiring countless kids to chase their dreams on and off the field. The celebration continued late into the night. The town square filled with cheering fans, waving flags and singing the Hawks anthem. Liam, still in his muddy jersey, couldn't stop smiling as people congratulated him. His parents hugged him tightly, their pride shining brighter than the floodlights. Ethan, who had watched the match online, called Liam that night. "I'm so proud of you, little bro," he said. "That was incredible. I knew you had it in you." Hearing those words from his brother meant the world to Liam. But the story didn't end there. The next morning, Liam woke up to find the local newspaper featuring a picture of him mid-kick, with the headline, "The Golden Boy of Hilltop." Despite the attention, Liam stayed humble. He returned to practice as usual, determined to keep improving. As the weeks passed, Liam's confidence grew. He started to lead by example, encouraging his teammates and helping the younger kids in the town with their skills. The coach noticed Liam's dedication and made him captain of the youth team for the next season. Liam's golden goal became more than just a memory. It became a symbol of resilience and belief. The Hilltop Hawks went on to build a stronger team, inspired by Liam's moment of glory. They didn't win every game, but they always played with heart, knowing that even the smallest player could make the biggest difference. Years later, Liam followed in Ethan's footsteps and earned a scholarship to play football at university. But every time he visited Hilltop, he made sure to visit the small backyard where his journey began. Standing there, he reminded himself of the boy who practiced alone, dreaming of greatness, and realized that the goal he scored that day wasn't just about winning. It was about proving to himself that he could achieve anything he set his mind to. And so, the legend of Liam and the golden goal continued to inspire generations, reminding them that heroes aren't born, they're made through hard work, passion, and the courage to seize their moment. In a small, quiet village surrounded by ancient woods, there lived an old storyteller named Elias. Known for his tales of wonder and mystery, he often spoke of life and its fleeting nature. But among his collection, there was one story he never shared, one that haunted him. One cold, moonless night, Elias sat by his fireplace, pen in hand, staring at a blank page. Shadows in the room danced with the flickering flames as a soft knock came at the door. Unusual for the hour, Elias hesitated before opening it. Standing on his doorstep was a pale, cloaked figure. Its face was veiled, yet Elias felt an overwhelming presence, calm, yet heavy with an ancient weight. "May I come in?" the figure asked, its voice neither male nor female, but carrying the cadence of countless lives. Elias stepped aside, his heart heavy with an unspoken recognition. "You are Death," he whispered. The figure nodded. "I am, but tonight I am not here for you. I have come for a story." Elias's hand trembled as he gestured to the chair by the fire. "A story? From me?" Death sat gracefully, folding its hands. "You have spent your life telling tales of others. Now tell me yours. Speak of what you fear most." Elias swallowed hard, the room growing colder. He began hesitantly, recounting his childhood, his loves, his losses, and his regrets. As he spoke, he realized his deepest fear was not death itself, but being forgotten, his stories fading into the void like autumn leaves carried by the wind. Death listened intently, its silence urging him to continue. When Elias finished, he looked at the figure, tears glistening in his eyes. "What happens to our stories when we are gone?" Death leaned forward, its voice soft. "Stories never die, Elias. They live in the hearts of those who hear them, shaping lives, guiding souls. Even when the storyteller is gone, the echoes remain." For the first time in years, Elias smiled. He felt a strange peace settle over him, as if a great burden had been lifted. As dawn approached, Death stood, its cloak shimmering in the faint light. "You have given me a story tonight, Elias, and in return, I grant you time. Share your tales, for they will outlast even me." With that, the figure vanished, leaving only the lingering scent of winter air. Elias sat by the fire, the blank page before him no longer intimidating. He began to write, his hand steady, his heart full. Death's visit had not been an end, but a beginning, a reminder that while life is finite, stories are eternal. Elias wrote with a newfound purpose, pouring his heart into each word. His stories no longer avoided the truths he feared most. He wrote about life's fragility, love's enduring strength, and the mysteries that tied the living to the unknown. Days turned into weeks, and soon the villagers began to notice a change in Elias. His voice, once heavy with age, now carried a vitality that inspired all who gathered to hear him. People traveled from distant towns, drawn to the tales of the old man who spoke not only of life, but of death with a grace that eased their fears. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Elias finished his final tale, a story of a traveler who walked hand in hand with death, not as an enemy, but as a friend. The villagers sat in silence, moved by the beauty of his words. When the crowd dispersed, Elias remained in his chair, gazing at the stars. The night was still, and a familiar chill swept through the air. He felt it before he saw it, a presence calm and steady. "You've returned," Elias said softly without turning his head. Death stood beside him, its veiled face illuminated by the moonlight. "I have. You've done well, Elias." "Is it time?" Elias asked, his voice free of fear. Death nodded. "Yes, but not as you think. You have already given your stories to the world. You are ready to rest, but what you have created will live on." Elias smiled, his heart full of gratitude. "Will you tell me one last thing before we go?" "Of course," Death said. "Where do we go after this?" Death paused, as if weighing the question. "To where all stories begin, Elias. To the place where silence gives way to creation, where endings and beginnings are one and the same." Elias closed his eyes, his breathing steady and peaceful. The fire in his hearth flickered and dimmed as the old storyteller drifted into a sleep deeper than any before. Death lingered for a moment, placing a gentle hand on the manuscript beside him, then disappeared into the night. When morning came, the villagers found Elias in his chair, a serene expression on his face. Beside him was his final story, titled The Whisper of Eternity. It would become his legacy, a testament to the life he lived and the truths he discovered. And though Elias was gone, his words carried on, whispered by the wind, told by the firelight, and etched into the hearts of all who heard them, proof that while death may claim the body, it could never silence the soul. Deep in the heart of an ancient forest, there lived a mystical spirit known as Ignis. She was the guardian of fire, a force both feared and revered by all living creatures. Ignis was neither good nor evil. She was simply a reflection of those who summoned her. To some, she brought warmth and light, while to others, she unleashed destruction and chaos. One cold winter night, a young boy named Elias ventured into the forest. His village had been shrouded in darkness for days after a terrible storm extinguished every flame. The people were desperate, shivering in the biting cold, and Elias decided to seek the spirit of fire, hoping she would help. Carrying nothing but a lantern and his courage, Elias reached the heart of the forest. There, in a clearing surrounded by ancient trees, he found a glowing ember floating in midair. As he approached, the ember burst into flames and Ignis appeared. Her fiery form danced like a living flame, her eyes blazing with curiosity. "Why have you come, child?" she asked, her voice crackling like burning wood. "Our village is dying," Elias replied. "We need fire to survive. Please, lend us your light." Ignis studied the boy for a moment, her fiery tendrils flickering in thought. "Fire is a gift and a curse," she said. "It can save your people, but it can also destroy them. Do you truly understand its power?" Elias nodded. "I do. Fire can bring warmth and life, but it must be treated with respect." Impressed by his wisdom, Ignis extended her hand and a small golden flame appeared in her palm. "Take this flame," she said. "It will burn as long as your heart remains pure and your intentions noble. But remember, if you use it carelessly, it will turn against you." Elias took the flame and carefully placed it in his lantern. He returned to his village where the people rejoiced as the light and warmth spread. They rebuilt their homes, cooked their meals, and survived the harsh winter. But as the years passed, some villagers grew greedy. They used the fire to burn forest for land and to wage war on neighboring villages. The golden flame, once a symbol of hope, began to darken. One night as Elias sat by the fire, he saw Ignis appear once more. Her form was no longer bright and beautiful. It was wild and menacing. "You have betrayed the trust I placed in you," she said. Elias fell to his knees. "I am sorry, spirit of fire. I tried to guide them, but I failed." Ignis looked at him, her flame softening for a moment. "Fire is not something you can control forever," she said. "It is a force of nature, free and untamed. Perhaps now your people will learn its true power." With that, she vanished, taking the golden flame with her. The village was plunged into darkness once again. This time, however, they understood the lesson Ignis had taught them. Fire is a gift, but only for those who wield it with care. From that day forward, the villagers treated fire with respect, knowing that its spirit was always watching. Years passed, and Elias grew older, his hair turning silver with age. The village, though humbled by its loss of the golden flame, slowly recovered. They learned to rekindle fire with their own hands using flint and kindling, and treated it as a sacred force. Every flame they lit was a reminder of Ignis and her warning. Elias became a storyteller, sharing his tale with the younger generations. Around the campfire, he would speak of the spirit of fire and the balance she demanded. He taught the children not only how to make fire, but also how to respect its power, to use it for warmth, creation, and protection, never for greed or harm. One cold autumn night, as Elias sat alone by a small fire, he felt a warm breeze on his face. He looked up and saw a faint glow in the distance. Rising slowly, he followed the light, his heart pounding with both fear and hope. At the edge of the forest, he found her. Ignis stood tall, her fiery form once again radiant and graceful. "You have honored my lesson," she said, her voice softer now. "Your village has learned, and you, Elias, have proven yourself a true guardian of the flame." Tears welled in Elias's eyes. "Thank you for giving us a second chance," he said. Ignis smiled, her flames flickering gently. Fire, like life, is a cycle. It can destroy, but it can also heal and renew. Share this wisdom and your people will thrive. She extended her hand once more, and a new flame appeared, this one brighter and steadier than before. "Take this gift, Elias. It is not just for warmth, but for hope, unity, and rebirth. It will remind your people of the balance they must keep." Elias took the flame, his heart full of gratitude. When he returned to the village, he placed it in the center of the town where it burned brightly, never fading. It became a symbol of their resilience and respect for nature's forces. The villagers gathered around the eternal flame each year to celebrate its light, telling the story of Ignis and the boy who had brought her gift. Through their reverence and care, the fire burned peacefully, a beacon of harmony for generations to come. And deep in the forest, Ignis watched, her flames dancing with quiet pride. In the distant past, during the age when towering stone structures reached towards the heavens, and the land was ruled by kings with divine authority, there was a kingdom known as Arcania. The people of Arcania were famed for their wisdom and strength, living in harmony with nature and guided by the stars that lit up the night sky. The kingdom was protected by a great wall, built from stone mined deep within the mountains. At its center stood the grand palace of King Thalon, a wise and noble ruler. He was not only respected for his fairness, but also for his deep knowledge of ancient mysteries. Every decision he made was consulted with the council of elders, who carried the wisdom of generations before them. In this kingdom lived a young boy named Kale, the son of a humble farmer. Though his family was poor, Kale had a burning desire for knowledge. Every evening, after working in the fields, he would sneak into the marketplace where traveling scholars told stories of distant lands and ancient times. His mind was filled with tales of heroic battles, ancient ruins, and powerful gods. One day, a great darkness began to spread across the kingdom. Strange creatures, unlike anything seen before, descended from the northern mountains. They were swift and powerful, and their presence brought fear to the hearts of the bravest warriors. The once peaceful kingdom of Arcania was now under threat. King Thalon, realizing the gravity of the situation, summoned his council and called upon all the wise men of the land. Together they consulted the ancient scrolls and deciphered a prophecy that spoke of a hero from humble origins who would rise to defeat the darkness. In a twist of fate, Kyle was chosen. The elders saw in him a spark, a potential to wield an ancient power that had been forgotten for centuries. Though he was young and inexperienced, Kyle was determined to prove himself worthy of the task. With the guidance of an old sage, Kale embarked on a perilous journey to the Temple of Stars, a sacred place said to hold the key to unlocking his hidden powers. Along the way, he faced countless challenges, fierce beasts, treacherous terrain, and riddles that tested his wit. Yet with every obstacle, Kale grew stronger, both in body and in mind. At last, he reached the temple, where he discovered the ancient weapon known as the Blade of Light. Forged in the heart of a fallen star, the blade had the power to vanquish the darkness, but only if wielded by one with a pure heart and an unbreakable will. Armed with the Blade of Light, Kale returned to Arcania to face the creatures that had plagued his people. In a climactic battle beneath the shadow of the Great Wall, Kyle fought valiantly, his blade cutting through the darkness like a beacon of hope. The creatures fell one by one, and with a final strike, Kale banished the dark forces from the land. The kingdom of Arcania was saved, and Kyle, once a humble farmer's son, became a hero remembered for generations. King Thalon, in gratitude, offered him a place in the royal court, but Kale humbly declined, choosing instead to return to his simple life, ever grateful for the adventure that shaped his destiny. And so the tale of Kale, the boy who became a hero, was passed down through the ages, a reminder that greatness can come from the most unlikely of places, and that the true power of a hero lies not in their strength but in their heart. Years passed, and Kale's story became legend, sung by bards and shared around fires on cold nights. Though Kyle had returned to his life as a farmer, the people of Arcania never forgot the humble boy who saved their kingdom. Children would gather around the elders to hear about the day Kyle wielded the blade of light and banished the darkness. But Kale's journey was far from over. One evening, as Kale was tending to his fields, an unexpected visitor arrived. It was the old sage who had once guided him to the Temple of Stars. His face, weathered by time, bore a serious expression. He spoke of strange omens. The stars had shifted, and whispers of a greater threat echoed across distant lands. The darkness you once faced was only a shadow of what is to come, the sage warned. A force older than time itself is stirring. Though Kyle had longed for peace, he understood that his destiny had not yet been fulfilled. With a heavy heart but resolute spirit, he agreed to accompany the sage on one last journey. Together they traveled to the edges of the known world, beyond the borders of Arcania, where forgotten realms lay shrouded in mystery. Along the way, Kyle encountered allies from distant kingdoms, warriors, mages, and scholars, each with their own stories of loss and hope. They all sought one thing, the ancient power that could stop the rising darkness. Kyle became their leader, not because of his strength, but because of his wisdom, his humility, and his ability to inspire courage in the hearts of others. Their journey led them to the Valley of Shadows, a place where time itself seemed to stand still. At its center was an ancient, crumbling fortress, the last stronghold of the dark force they sought to defeat. Inside, they found an ancient being, older than the mountains and more powerful than any foe Kyle had ever faced. The battle that ensued was unlike any before. The creature, born of chaos, could manipulate reality, bending time and space to its will. Kyle and his companions fought with all their might, but it seemed as though the darkness would prevail. In the final moments, when all hope seemed lost, Kyle remembered the words of the sage. True power comes not from strength, but from within. With a deep breath, Kyle tapped into the ancient knowledge he had gained on his journey, realizing that the only way to defeat the darkness was to embrace the light within himself. In an act of ultimate sacrifice, Kale channeled the energy of the blade of light and merged it with his very essence. His body became a vessel of pure light, banishing the darkness not through force, but through the power of love, courage, and unity. The dark creature was consumed by the light, its form dissolving into nothingness. The fortress crumbled, the valley filled with light, and the world was saved once again. But Kyle did not return with his companions. He had become one with the light, a beacon in the heavens, forever watching over the lands he had fought to protect. His name lived on in the stars, and every night the people of Arcania would look to the sky, knowing that their hero was still with them, guarding their future from the eternal night. And thus, the legend of Kyle, the boy who became light, would forever be etched into the history of the ancient world, a symbol of hope and the enduring power of the human spirit. Once upon a time, in a small coastal village, there lived a young boy named Liam. He was fascinated by the sea, spending every free moment on the beach watching the waves crash against the shore and listening to the seagulls cry above. The sea, with its endless horizons and mysterious depths, held a special place in his heart. One evening, as the sun was setting and the sky turned shades of pink and orange, Liam noticed something unusual. A small, shimmering light appeared far out on the water, flickering like a distant star. Intrigued, he decided to investigate the next day. Early the following morning, Liam set out in his small wooden boat, rowing toward the light's last known location. The sea was calm, and the air was filled with the scent of salt and adventure. As he approached the spot, the light reappeared, brighter and closer this time. It seemed to be calling to him. Suddenly, the water beneath him began to swirl, and a large, graceful dolphin emerged from the depths. The dolphin had a glowing pendant around its neck, the source of the mysterious light. It looked at Liam with wise, kind eyes, and somehow he understood that the dolphin was asking for his help. The dolphin led Liam to a hidden cove where the water was a deep, enchanting blue. At the center of the cove lay a massive ancient shipwreck, its wooden beams covered in coral and seaweed. The dolphin nudged a piece of the shipwreck, revealing a treasure chest buried in the sand. With great effort, Liam managed to open the chest. Inside, he found not gold or jewels, but a collection of beautiful hand-carved seashells. Each shell was unique, with intricate designs that seemed to tell stories of the sea. The dolphin gestured to the shells, and Liam understood that these were not ordinary treasures. They held the memories and secrets of the ocean. Liam took the shells back to his village where he shared their beauty and the stories they told with everyone. The villagers were amazed, and they began to see the sea not just as a vast, unknown expanse, but as a living, breathing entity with its own history and wisdom. From that day on, the village prospered. The sea, grateful for Liam's kindness and understanding, provided bountiful fish and protected the village from storms. And every night when the stars shone brightly in the sky, Liam would walk along the beach, listening to the whispers of the ocean, knowing that he had discovered its greatest secret. The sea was not just water and waves, but a guardian of ancient tales and timeless mysteries. As Liam grew older, his bond with the sea deepened. He spent countless hours by the shore, learning the patterns of the tides and the songs of the wind. The seashells he had discovered became cherished heirlooms passed down through generations, each one containing a story that Liam shared with the children of the village. One day, as he sat on the beach, an old man approached him. The man had a weathered face and eyes that sparkled with wisdom. He introduced himself as Marin, a traveler of the seas who had visited countless shores and witnessed the wonders of the world. Marin had heard of the boy who had found the treasure of the sea and had come to see it for himself. Liam welcomed Marin and showed him the seashells. Marin examined each one carefully, nodding with approval. He then told Liam that the seashells were part of an ancient collection known as the Echoes of the Deep, a gift from the sea to those who respected and protected it. The shells, he explained, held the power to bring peace and prosperity to those who understood their true value. Marin also revealed that there were more shells scattered across the oceans, waiting to be found by those with pure hearts and a love for the sea. He encouraged Liam to embark on a journey to find the remaining shells so their stories could be shared with the world. Inspired by Marin's words, Liam decided to set sail. With the blessing of the village, he built a sturdy ship and prepared for his voyage. As he sailed away, the villagers waved and cheered, knowing that Liam's journey would bring even more wonder and wisdom to their lives. Liam traveled to distant lands, facing challenges and discovering new friends along the way. He visited islands where the sea sang in strange tongues, and explored underwater caves filled with glowing creatures. Everywhere he went, he found new shells, each one revealing a new story, a new piece of the sea's endless tale. Years passed and Liam returned home, his ship filled with the echoes of the deep. The villagers greeted him with open arms, eager to hear the tales of his adventures. Liam shared the stories, and the village became a place of learning and inspiration, where people from far and wide came to listen to the wisdom of the sea. And so, the legacy of Liam and the secret of the sea lived on, reminding everyone that the ocean was more than just a body of water. It was a keeper of dreams, a guardian of stories, and a source of endless wonder. In a small town nestled between rolling hills, football was more than just a game. It was a way of life. Every Sunday, the entire town would gather at the old, worn-down stadium to watch their team, the Green Hill Warriors, play. The Warriors had always been good, but this season they were extraordinary. They had made it all the way to the championship match, and the whole town believed they could win. Tommy, a 16-year-old boy with a passion for football, was the team's youngest player. He had joined the Warriors earlier that year, and though he was new, he had already made a name for himself with his speed and skill on the field. But this match was different. It was the most important game of his life. The day of the championship arrived, and the stadium was packed. The air buzzed with excitement and nervous energy. The opposing team, the Riverdale Ravens, was known for their fierce defense and had a reputation for crushing their opponents. The match began, and from the first whistle, it was clear that it would be a tough battle. For 90 minutes, the teams fought hard, with neither side able to score. The game was intense, with every player giving their all. The crowd held its breath with every pass, every tackle, every shot at goal. But as the clock ticked down, it looked like the match would end in a draw, forcing extra time. Then, in the final minute, the Warriors were awarded a free kick just outside the penalty area. The crowd roared, knowing this was their last chance to win. The team captain, Jakey, usually took free kicks, but as he lined up, he saw Tommy standing nearby. his ease focused and determined. Jakey knew Tommy had practiced it, free kicks endlessly, staying after training long after everyone else had gone home. He nodded at Tommy and stepped back, giving the young player the chance to take the shot. Tommy's heart pounded in his chest as he positioned the ball. He could hear the cheers of the crowd, but he shut them out, focusing only on the goal. The wall of Ravens players loomed in front of him, and beyond them, the goalkeeper stood ready. He took a deep breath, stepped forward, and struck the ball with perfect precision. The stadium fell silent as the ball sailed through the air, curving beautifully over the wall of defenders. The goalkeeper dived, but it was too late. The ball hit the back of the net. The crowd erupted in joy. The Warriors had won the championship, and Tommy was their hero. His teammates lifted him onto their shoulders, and as he looked out at the cheering crowd, he knew he had lived his dream. That day, Tommy became a legend in Green Hill, and the town celebrated their victory long into the night. The story of the final kick would be told for generations, inspiring young footballers to believe in themselves and never give up on their dreams. As the night wore on, the celebration in Green Hill showed no signs of slowing down. The town square was filled with people singing, dancing, and reliving the moments of the match. Everywhere Tommy went, people congratulated him, their faces beaming with pride. He was still in disbelief, replaying that final kick in his mind, wondering if it had really happened. Back at home, Tommy's family had prepared a special dinner in his honor. His parents, who had always supported his love for football, couldn't hide their tears of joy. His younger siblings looked at him like he was a superhero, and in their eyes he was. They gathered around the dinner table, where Tommy's father raised a glass to toast his son's achievement. "To Tommy," he said, his voice full of emotion, "you've shown us all what determination and hard work can achieve. We're so proud of you, son." Tommy smiled, trying to take it all in. As they ate, his father shared stories of his own youth, recalling how he had once dreamed of being a footballer. It was clear that Tommy had not only fulfilled his own dream, but had also brought his father's dream to life as well. The next day, Tommy woke up early, still feeling the excitement of the previous night. As he got dressed, he noticed his football boots sitting by the door, still covered in dirt from the match. He picked them up, feeling the weight of the moment they represented. These boots had taken him on a journey he would never forget. When he arrived at the football field, he found his teammates already there, talking and laughing as they kicked a ball around. Even though the championship was over, their love for the game remained unchanged. They greeted Tommy with high fives and playful jabs, treating him just like any other day. But deep down, they all knew that something had changed. They were not just a team, they were champions. As the days turned into weeks, life in Green Hill slowly returned to normal. The championship trophy was placed in a special case at the town hall, where people would stop to admire it, often pointing out Tommy's name engraved on a plaque below it. But for Tommy, the victory was just the beginning. He continued to train hard, knowing that this was only the start of his football journey. The attention he received from scouts and coaches grew, and soon he found himself being offered a place on a youth team in a nearby city. It was a chance to take his talent to the next level. With a heavy heart, Tommy made the decision to leave Green Hill. The town had given him everything, a place to grow, to learn, and to achieve his first taste of victory. But he knew he had to go if he wanted to pursue his dream of becoming a professional footballer. On the day of his departure, the entire town came to see him off. They lined the streets, waving banners and chanting his name as he drove away. Tommy looked out the window, waving back with a smile, feeling both sadness and excitement. As he looked ahead to the road before him, he knew that the journey would be long and challenging. But with the memory of that final kick and the support of his town behind him, Tommy felt ready to face whatever came next. He was a warrior after all, and he knew that no matter where his journey took him, Green Hill would always be his home. In a small village nestled between two towering mountains, life was simple and peaceful. Children played by the riverbanks, and farmers tilled their land, harvesting enough to provide for their families. The air was filled with the scent of pine trees and the sound of birds singing. But that peace was fragile, and the distant echo of war grew closer with every passing day. One morning, the villagers awoke to the sight of soldiers marching through the valley. They wore armor that glistened in the sunlight, and their faces were hard, etched with the weight of battle. Rumors had spread of a great war between the kingdoms to the north and south, but the village had always been untouched until now. As the soldiers passed, they left a message with the village elder: "Prepare yourselves, the war is coming and you must choose a side." The villagers who had lived in harmony for generations were divided. Some argued that they should fight for the kingdom of the north, while others believed the south had more to offer. Fear and uncertainty spread like wildfire. In the midst of this tension was a young man named Elias. He had grown up in the village, learning the ways of the forest from his father, a skilled hunter. Elias despised the thought of war. He had seen what violence could do. His mother had died in a raid years ago, and the memory of her loss still haunted him. But he also knew that if the village did nothing, it would be destroyed. One evening, Elias gathered the villagers around a fire. "We cannot let this war tear us apart," he said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "We are stronger together, and we do not need to take sides. We can defend our home without losing who we are." His words resonated with many, but not all. Some still left to join the armies, hoping to protect their families by fighting for one kingdom or another. But Elias and those who stayed began preparing for the worst. They built fortifications around the village, stockpiled food, and trained to defend themselves, not for conquest, but for survival. The war came as they knew it would. One cold morning, the sound of drums echoed through the valley, and the armies of both kingdoms clashed on the fields just outside the village. For hours, the villagers heard the distant roar of battle, the clang of swords, and the cries of the wounded, but they stayed hidden, protecting their homes and each other. As the sun set, the armies withdrew, leaving behind a battlefield strewn with the dead and dying. The village had been spared, but the cost of war was all too clear. Elias and the other villagers ventured out to tend to the wounded, regardless of which side they had fought for. They knew that in the end they were all the same, people trying to survive in a world torn apart by conflict. The war continued for years, but the village remained neutral, a small island of peace in a sea of chaos. Elias, now older and wiser, led his people with compassion and strength. And though the scars of war never fully healed, the village endured, a testament to the power of unity and the hope that peace might one day return. In the shadow of war, they had found a way to live. As the years passed, the war between the northern and southern kingdoms began to wane. The armies grew weary, and the cost of endless fighting became too great for both sides to bear. The villages and cities across the land lay in ruins, and hunger gnawed at the hearts of those who had lost everything. But amidst the devastation, the small village in the valley stood as a beacon of resilience. Elias, now a respected leader, often walked the perimeter of the village, his thoughts heavy with the memories of battles fought and lives lost. The villagers had survived by refusing to be drawn into the conflict, but they had also suffered. Families were separated, and some who had left to join the armies never returned. One evening, as Elias sat near the old fire pit where he had once rallied his people, a messenger arrived. He wore the tattered colors of the northern kingdom, but there was no pride in his posture, only exhaustion. "The kings have agreed to meet for peace talks," the messenger said, his voice hoarse from the journey. "They wish to use your village as neutral ground." Elias was silent for a long moment. The village had remained untouched by the war because they had kept it out, but now peace itself was asking to come through their gates. He looked around at the faces of the villagers who had gathered to hear the news. Some were hopeful, others were afraid. They had lived in the shadow of war for so long, they had almost forgotten what peace could look like. Finally, Elias spoke. "If our village can help end this war, then we will do so. But let it be known that no weapons will enter our gates. If the kings wish to speak of peace, they will do so with words alone." The decision was met with murmurs of agreement, though fear lingered in the hearts of many. Preparations were made to welcome the envoys from both kingdoms, and soon the once quiet village was filled with the bustle of people repairing roads, cleaning the square, and preparing food for the guests. But underneath the activity was an unspoken tension. Could peace truly be forged, or would this be just another battle in disguise? The day finally arrived. The kings of the north and south entered the village, each with a small retinue, their faces lined with the toll of years of fighting. Elias greeted them at the gates, standing tall but with no show of force. "Welcome," he said, "to a place that has seen enough of war." The negotiations began, and for days the kings argued, accused, and blamed one another for the horrors of the past. But each night they returned to their simple lodgings in the village, where the silence of the mountains seemed to soften their anger. Slowly, the talk shifted from accusations to concessions, from demands to compromise. Elias watched from a distance, his hope guarded but growing. The villagers continued their work, feeding the envoys, providing shelter, and watching as the fate of their world hung in the balance. They knew that, like their village, peace would require patience, understanding, and sacrifice. After weeks of negotiations, a treaty was finally signed. The war that had ravaged the land for so long would end. The kings, though weary, left the village with a promise to rebuild what had been destroyed. As they departed, Elias stood at the gate, watching them go, the weight of years lifting from his shoulders. The village, once caught in the shadow of war, had become the birthplace of peace. And though the scars of conflict remained, both on the land and in the hearts of the people, they knew that a new chapter had begun, one where unity and hope could flourish once more. Elias, now an elder in the truest sense, continued to lead his people with wisdom and compassion. He knew that peace was fragile, like a flame flickering in the wind, but he also knew that as long as they stood together, they could protect it, nurture it, and pass it on to future generations. And so, in the valley between the mountains, the village lived on, a place where the memory of war would never be forgotten, but where the promise of peace would forever endure. Once upon a time, in the vast expanse of the ocean, there was a mysterious island known only to a few. This island, hidden behind thick mists and guarded by treacherous reefs, was called the Island of Whispering Winds. Legends spoke of the island's enchanted winds that carried the voices of the past, whispers of forgotten stories and secrets of the world. Sailors who ventured too close to the island would hear these whispers and be drawn into a trance, forgetting their way home. Some believed the island was cursed, while others thought it was blessed by ancient spirits. One day, a brave young sailor named Aidan set out on a quest to discover the truth behind the island's mysterious winds. Aidan was not like other sailors. He was a seeker of knowledge, driven by an insatiable curiosity to uncover the world's greatest mysteries. As Aidan's ship approached the island, the winds began to whisper, but instead of being afraid, Aidan listened carefully. The whispers told tales of a great treasure hidden deep within the island, guarded by the spirits of the winds. But they also warned of a great danger that awaited those who sought the treasure with a heart full of greed. Determined, Aidan anchored his ship and set foot on the island. The air was thick with the sound of whispers, growing louder as he ventured deeper into the dense, enchanted forest. The trees seemed to sway with the wind's breath, guiding him along a hidden path. After hours of walking, Aidan found himself standing before a massive stone gate covered in ancient runes. The whispers had led him here. With a deep breath, Aidan pushed the gate open and entered a vast chamber. In the center of the chamber lay a chest, glowing with a soft golden light. But before Aidan could reach the chest, the winds swirled violently around him, forming a towering figure made of air and light. It was the guardian of the winds, a spirit tasked with protecting the island's secrets. "Who dares to seek the treasure of the whispering winds?" the spirit boomed. Aidan, undeterred, replied, "I am Aidan, a sailor in search of knowledge, not wealth. I seek to learn the truth of this island and to share its story with the world." The spirit studied Aidan for a moment, then spoke. "Many have come before you, driven by greed. They have all failed. But your heart is pure and your intentions noble. You shall be granted the treasure, but remember this. The greatest treasure is not gold or jewels, but the wisdom you gain and the stories you tell." With those words, the chest opened, revealing not gold, but ancient scrolls filled with knowledge of the world and its forgotten histories. Aidan took the scrolls and thanked the guardian. As he left the chamber, the winds began to sing, no longer whispers, but a harmonious melody of the island's true purpose. Aidan returned to his ship and sailed back to his homeland. He shared the stories of the Island of Whispering Winds, becoming a renowned storyteller and wise man. The island remained hidden, its whispers a secret known only to those who sought wisdom over wealth. And so, the legend of the Island of Whispering Winds lived on, a tale of courage, curiosity, and the true treasures of the world. Years passed, and Aidan's stories spread far and wide. People from distant lands came to hear the tales of the Island of Whispering Winds. Many were inspired by Aidan's adventures and sought to find the island themselves, but none returned with the wisdom Aidan had gained. Aidan grew older, but his thirst for knowledge never waned. He continued to share the stories he had learned from the ancient scrolls, teaching others about the forgotten histories and mysteries of the world. Under his guidance, a new generation of seekers and scholars emerged, dedicated to exploring the unknown and uncovering the truths hidden in the world. One day, as Aidan sat by the sea, watching the sun set over the horizon, he heard the familiar sound of the whispering winds. The winds seemed to carry a message just for him, calling him back to the island one last time. Aidan knew that his journey was not yet complete. With a heart full of gratitude and a mind eager for one last adventure, Aidan set sail towards the Island of Whispering Winds. The journey was as treacherous as before, but this time Aidan felt a deep connection with the winds, as if they were guiding him home. As his ship approached the island, the mist parted, revealing the island in all its mystical beauty. Aiden felt a sense of peace as he stepped onto the familiar shores. The winds, now gentle and warm, whispered around him, welcoming him back. The island seemed to recognize Aiden, and the path that had once been hidden now lay clear before him. Aiden followed the path, his steps sure and steady, until he reached the chamber of the Guardian of the Winds. The Guardian appeared once more, its form shimmering with light and energy. But this time, there was no challenge, no test. The Guardian spoke softly, "Welcome back, Aiden. You have lived a life of wisdom and kindness. The island has one last gift for you." With a wave of the Guardian's hand, the chamber transformed. The walls became transparent, revealing the vastness of the universe, the stars shining brightly against the dark sky. The winds carried the sounds of distant worlds and ancient times, a symphony of knowledge and wonder. The Guardian continued, "You have learned much, Aiden, but there is always more to discover. The island's final gift is the freedom to explore the mysteries of the universe, to become one with the winds and carry the stories of the world wherever you go." Aiden felt a warmth spreading through him, a lightness that filled his soul. He realized that the island was offering him the chance to transcend his mortal life, to become a part of the eternal winds, the keepers of knowledge and stories. With a peaceful smile, Aiden accepted the island's gift. His form began to dissolve into the winds, his essence merging with the air, the sea, and the stars. He felt no fear, only joy as he became one with the island and the universe. From that day on, the winds of the island carried not only the voices of the past, but also the voice of Aiden, the sailor who sought wisdom over wealth. His spirit lived on in the whispering winds, guiding others who came to the island in search of truth. And so, the legend of the Island of Whispering Winds continued to grow, a timeless story of a man who found the true treasures of life in the pursuit of knowledge and the sharing of stories. The island remained a place of mystery and wonder, its secrets revealed only to those with hearts as pure and minds as curious as Aiden's. Once upon a time, nestled in a remote corner of the world, there was a majestic range of mountains known as the Whispering Mountains. These mountains were unlike any other, for they held ancient secrets and whispered them to those who dared to listen. The tallest of these peaks was Mount Aryan, towering above the clouds, its summit always covered in snow. The people of the nearby village believed that the mountains were alive, and that they spoke in a language only the pure of heart could understand. One day, a young girl named Ilara, known for her kindness and curiosity, decided to venture into the mountains. She had heard tales from the village elders about the mountains' whispers and longed to discover their secrets for herself. As she climbed higher and higher, the air grew colder and the winds began to murmur. At first, the whispers were faint, almost indistinguishable from the wind. But as Ilara reached a secluded valley between two peaks, the whispers grew clearer. "Ilara," they called softly, "we have been waiting for you." Startled but unafraid, Ilara responded, "Who are you? What do you want from me?" "We are the spirits of the mountains," the whispers replied. "We have guarded this land for centuries, watching over the people and the creatures that dwell here. But our power is fading and we need your help." Ilara listened intently as the whispers told her of a hidden gem deep within the heart of Mount Aryan. This gem, known as the Heart of the Mountains, was the source of their strength. Over the years, the gem had grown dim, and with it, the mountain's power had waned. "You must find the heart of the mountains and restore its light," the whispers urged. "Only then will we be able to continue protecting this land." Determined, Ilara agreed to the task. The whispers guided her to a hidden cave at the base of Mount Aryan. Inside, the cave was dark and cold, but Ilara pressed on, her resolve unwavering. After what seemed like hours of wandering through the twisting tunnels, she finally reached a vast chamber. In the center, atop a pedestal of stone, lay the heart of the mountains, a large crystal that glowed faintly with a pale blue light. Ilara approached the gem and gently placed her hands on it. Closing her eyes, she focused all her thoughts on the love and respect she had for the mountains. Slowly, the gem began to glow brighter, its light growing stronger with each passing moment. When Ilara opened her eyes, the entire chamber was bathed in the crystal's radiant light. The whispers, now strong and clear, filled the air with gratitude. "You have done it, Ilara. You have restored the heart of the mountains," they said. "Our strength has returned, and we will continue to protect this land for generations to come." With the task complete, Ilara made her way back to the village. The villagers, who had watched her descent from the mountains, welcomed her with open arms. knowing that she had saved their home. From that day on, the mountains whispered their secrets to Alara alone, guiding her and the village through the challenges that lay ahead. And the Whispering Mountains stood tall and proud, their ancient spirits forever grateful to the brave girl who had rekindled their light. As the years passed, Alara grew into a wise and revered figure in the village. She became known as the Guardian of the Whispering Mountains, a title bestowed upon her by the spirits themselves. The villagers often sought her counsel, knowing that her connection with the mountains gave her insight beyond that of any ordinary person. Alara, however, remained humble, always attributing her wisdom to the mountains and their whispers. She spent much of her time exploring the valleys, streams, and forests that surrounded the peaks, ensuring that the land remained in harmony with the people who lived there. One crisp autumn day, as Alara wandered through the golden-hued forest at the base of Mount Aryan, she noticed a young boy sitting alone by the edge of a clear mountain stream. He was quietly weeping, his small shoulders trembling with each sob. Alara approached him gently and asked, "Why do you cry, little one?" The boy looked up at her, his eyes filled with tears. "I lost my way," he whispered. "I was trying to find a special flower for my mother, but now I don't know how to get back home." Alara smiled kindly and knelt beside him. "The mountains will help us find the way," she assured him. "They are always watching over us." Taking the boy's hand, Alara closed her eyes and listened to the soft whispers of the mountains. They guided her, as they always did, leading her and the boy along a path through the forest. As they walked, Alara told the boy stories of the mountains, tales of bravery, love, and the unbreakable bond between the land and its people. Before long, they reached the edge of the village where the boy's anxious mother was waiting. She ran to him, embracing him tightly. "Thank you," she said to Alara, her voice filled with gratitude. "I don't know what we would do without you." Alara smiled warmly. "It is the mountains you should thank," she replied. "They are the true guardians of this land." As Alara continued to watch over the village, she noticed how the bond between the people and the mountains grew stronger. The villagers learned to listen to the whispers themselves, understanding that the mountains spoke to all who respected and loved them. And so, the Whispering Mountains remained a place of mystery and wonder, where the spirits of the peaks continued to protect the land and its people. The legend of Alara, the guardian of the Whispering Mountains, was passed down through generations, reminding all who heard it of the power of kindness, courage, and the deep connection between humans and nature. As the years turned into decades and the decades into centuries, the mountains never forgot the young girl who had restored their heart. And even as new generations came and went, the whispers continued to tell the story of Alara, echoing through the valleys and across the peaks, a timeless reminder of the harmony that could exist between the earth and those who tread upon it. Ahmed sat on the edge of his small bed, staring out the window of his cramped apartment. The city outside was alive with noise and movement, but inside it felt silent and lonely. He had been living in this foreign land for 3 years now, far away from the warm sun and familiar streets of his hometown. Back home, Ahmed had a large family. Every Friday they would gather for a big meal, laughing and sharing stories. The scent of his mother's cooking, the sound of his siblings' laughter, these were the things he missed the most. But in this new place, he was just another face in the crowd, one of many who had left their homes in search of better opportunities. Ahmed had come to this city with dreams of a brighter future. He wanted to build something for himself, to prove that he could make it on his own. But the reality of living abroad was much harder than he had imagined. The language barrier, the cultural differences, and the endless hours of work left him exhausted and often feeling isolated. Yet there were moments that made the struggle worth it, like the time when he finally got a promotion at work, a recognition of all his hard efforts. Or when he found a small cafe that reminded him of home, with its warm tea and friendly owner who spoke his language. In those moments, Ahmed felt a connection, a sense of belonging that eased the ache of homesickness. Still, the loneliness never fully went away. He would call his family often, but the phone calls only made the distance feel more real. His mother would ask when he was coming back, and he would always say, "Soon, inshallah," but soon seemed further away each time he said it. One winter night, as snow softly fell outside his window, Ahmed made a decision. He would return home even if just for a short visit. He needed to feel the embrace of his family, to walk the streets that held his childhood memories. The thought of seeing his parents' faces again, of hearing the familiar sounds of his neighborhood, filled him with a warmth he hadn't felt in years. As the plane touched down in his home country, Ahmed's heart raced with excitement. The air smelled different, fresher, filled with the scents of the land he loved. When he stepped out into the arrivals hall, his family was there waiting, just as they had promised. His mother's eyes filled with tears as she hugged him tightly, and for the first time in a long time, Ahmed felt truly at peace. That night, as he sat around the dinner table with his family, Ahmed realized something important. No matter where life took him, no matter how far he traveled, his heart would always belong here, in this place, surrounded by the people who loved him. He had chased his dreams across the world, but he had found his true happiness right where he started, at home. The days that followed were filled with laughter, stories, and the comfort of familiarity. Ahmed visited old friends, walked through the streets he knew so well, and spent hours talking with his parents. Each day, he felt the weight of the past few years lifting from his shoulders. One afternoon, as he sat with his father in the garden, his father turned to him and said, "You've done well, Ahmed. We're proud of you." These simple words meant the world to Ahmed. He had always sought his family's approval, and hearing it now, after all he had endured, felt like the validation he needed. But as the days of his visit dwindled, Ahmed felt a growing sense of dread. He knew he would have to return to the life he had built abroad, to the responsibilities and commitments waiting for him. The thought of leaving his family again filled him with sorrow, but he also knew that the sacrifices he made were for their sake as much as his own. On his last night at home, Ahmed sat with his mother in the kitchen, watching her prepare a meal just as she had done countless times before. The familiar aromas filled the air, and they talked about everything and nothing, savoring the moment. "Ahmed," his mother said gently, "I know it's hard for you to be away from us, but remember, you're doing this for your future and for ours. Wherever you are, we're always with you in spirit." Those words stayed with Ahmed as he boarded the plane the next day. The flight back was quiet, giving him time to reflect on all that had happened. He realized that the sense of loneliness he had felt wasn't just about being in a different place. It was about feeling disconnected from the people he loved. But now, he understood something crucial. Home wasn't just a physical place. It was a feeling, a bond that stretched across any distance. He carried his family in his heart, and no matter where he went, they would always be with him. When Ahmed returned to his small apartment, the city felt different. It was still loud and bustling, but now it didn't seem so foreign. He knew he had to keep pushing forward, to keep working towards the dreams that had brought him here. But now, he had a renewed sense of purpose and a reminder of where his true strength came from. Ahmed hung a photo of his family on the wall, a constant reminder of the love that awaited him back home. And whenever he felt the pangs of loneliness, he would look at that photo and remember that no matter how far he was from home, he was never truly alone. In the end, Ahmed found peace in the knowledge that the road he was on was part of a much larger journey, one that connected his past, present, and future. He knew that one day he would return to stay. But until then, he would carry his home with him, wherever life might lead.